Welcome to Dakota Growing. I'm Kelsey Deckert, your horticulture agent here in Burleigh County, joined in the Radio Access studio by my co-host Tom Kalb, NDSU Extension horticulturalist. How you doing?
Everything's great.
It's cold this morning.
That's right. We've had frost here finally.
Right.
Last couple nights. But it's okay.
It is okay.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. And but generally, weather's been bright, sunny, pleasant.
Really nice.
Wonderful. Except for the wind.
Well, even the next 2 days, though, we're supposed to warm up again. So that'll be nice.
That's right. No snow in the forecast. Life's good.
Life's good.
I think everything's great. I love this time of year.
Do you?
Yeah.
Watch the leaves blow off the trees.
That's right. And no, I just like the weather, and it's usually a little crisp and refreshing outside. Mm-hmm. And it's comfortable working outside. And
I agree.
And just trying to savor. Winter's coming, so it always does. So you just say, we've got another nice week, so I'm going to
appreciate that,
appreciate it.
That sounds good. What do you got today for us to talk about?
Speaking of the wonderful October,
yeah.
We're going to talk about Oktoberfest in the garden. That's our
gosh.
theme for today.
Are the slugs drinking beer or what?
Wow. Now, why would I waste any beer on a slug? Slugs can get their own beer. I'm not going to feed no slug beer. So I would rather just tolerate a few slugs. I don't have a slug problem. And actually, but I love October. And so Oktoberfest, huh? That Bavarian festival.
A little bit. Know a little bit about it. Yeah.
I just heard that. Did you know Oktoberfest is actually in September in Germany? I don't know why it's. I don't know. It's kind of different. But that's just a little on the side there. It's not really important. But we're going to talk about Oktoberfest because it's a time for celebration right now. And in Germany, they do celebrate. They have lots of music. And they have, as you say, they drink a little bit of beer, slugs or no slugs. And, of course, they have a great time dancing. So October is a time, and September, should I say, the fall is a time to celebrate. And right now here, not just in Germany, but in North Dakota, too.
Right.
So we got these wonderful, the maples are spectacular right now. And just look at that beautiful fall color that we got for a while until the leaves blow off, as you say. And I'm going to celebrate especially this October because we had such a long growing season. Another
good year.
We had 2 weeks bonus of a growing season this year. And so crops like our watermelons, they had all the time they needed to have a wonderful, delicious harvest. But frost has come to North Dakota. But it's okay. It comes all the time. And there are silver linings to frost. There's a good part. Like, for example, the box elder bugs are frozen now. So they were getting to be a little bit pesky the last week or so.
The flies as well. I celebrate every time I see those little stripy wing flies in my house. Every day I vacuum up a few more.
Yeah, one thing about a house fly, or that's a different type, huh?
Yeah.
A window pane fly, something like they're called.
I like the heat.
Yeah, they're slow motion, huh?
They're easy to get. But it's like you feel like you have like a graveyard going on every day. Oh, there's a few more. Wonder where they came from.
Yeah. In our house, they're very attracted to like the south window.
Right.
So it must be the light and the heat, huh?
Yeah.
And so they just keep banging their head against the window until they knock themselves out, and then they die. So I guess that's not really a good way to go, actually. Just banging your head against the window, and then you.
No, they kind of that's where we have our window faces kind of southeast. Yeah. Our big window in our living room, and so every night I come home and I'm like, oh, there's a little bit of movement across the floor, and they just die. I also haven't been hearing crickets, so that's good.
Yeah, no crickets anymore.
crickets.
They're all frozen.
Yeah.
And, or just, they got old and died.
That's right.
It happens. Yeah, lots of box elder bugs. Like, we got maple trees nearby, and they just, the last, 2 weeks, they just been going nuts, those box elder bugs. But they're all frozen. So there's a good point, Frost has good points. And we had our season. We had a nice growing season.
That's right.
So it is October, and the clock is ticking on what we can do and what we cannot do in the garden at this. So I want to just talk a bit about that. And one thing, that's the dandelions and the weeds are still active. You don't see much growth on them this time of year, but actually I just took this picture yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Of a thistle, and it's still green and healthy, and so fall's a great time. Now we still got, until this time of year, until we get really a series of hard frosts, we still got time to kill these weeds. And this is a great time to do it because these weeds now, you don't see them putting on a top growth, but their roots are very active now, sucking up, just bringing all their nutrients down into their roots. And so that's the key to killing thistles and other weeds, is to get that chemical down to the roots. So like tomorrow, or probably the next day, I'm going to go out there, and this is on my yard, I have to say. And so I'm going to go out there, and I got a few thistle, and I'm just going to spray, and I'm going to have a great kill, because the thistle is going to naturally bring the chemical down into its roots. So if you're going to, I don't like spraying weeds. I don't like messing around with all those toxic chemicals. But if you're going to do it, the time to do it is when it's most effective. And the most effective time is fall. And now is a great time to do it. Okay. Now, another thing is mowing the lawn. Okay. So again, our lawns are not actively growing. At least the blades aren't doing much, but the roots are still going.
Right.
But when you mow your lawn, I usually like to mow tall, because a tall lawn has a deep root system. A tall lawn will shade the soil and keep it cooler, and so the turf stays greener longer. But the last time I mow, I'm going to drop the mower down a notch, down not to 3 inches, but more down lower to 2.5 inches this last time. And that's one reason, is I don't want a lush lawn over winter. A lush lawn can mat down and get disease. And also, a lush lawn can attract meadow mice.
Yeah.
I know how much you like mice.
Yeah.
We all got to live on this planet together. And there is a reason for mice, I guess. If nothing else but to feed hawks. There you go.
There you go, is right.
So one night, why would a vole be attracted to a lush lawn? Because it's hard for the hawk to find it.
Yeah, the brown grass this time, when it gets browned up
and
they
it's
blend
tall.
in.
Yeah,
got that shelter protection.
Yeah, so what we want to do is we cut it low. I would
Expose
say
them.
2 to 2.5 inches, and then they won't hang out on your lawn, and then they'll go to the neighbor's lawn, or they'll go to the brush pile or something else.
Right.
So don't forget, you should have a nicely trimmed lawn. Don't go nuts. Don't scalp the thing down to 1 inch, because you could injure the lawn. But I think about 2.5 inches is a good way to go. Okay, so remember that the last time we mow, which is about right now, we're not going to get much growth now. So make sure your lawn's nicely trimmed in October.
When you talked about the thistle and stuff,
Yeah.
sometimes I hear from people, you should let it get like a light frost and then spray it.
Well, okay, yeah, that's because in a normal, yeah, I can believe that, but I think the whole key is you got to do it in the fall,
right?
And I think the thing about the thistle, the whole key is the thistle is drawing its nutrients down.
Inward, yeah.
So why is the thistle doing that? It's not because, I just got a light frost tonight, so now I'm going to start doing it. No, it's a trigger mechanism from the longer nights and the cooler temperatures. So I don't wait necessarily for a light frost. I think late September, early October. Now this year, since we still have time to do it because we've had an extended warm period. But you can keep doing it until you look at that thistle, and when the thistle looks like it's really been frazzled, by frost, then it's not going to have much action down below into the roots. So I don't wait until a light frost.
That's what I told this person specifically.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I think like late September is kind of what the target is in a normal year is what I do. But I just noticed that sometimes you don't get it all right away or you get busy. And I just say like this time of year, if you've got dandelions or if you got even clover or field bindweed in the lawn, you still have time to get it. And as long as it's still green and appears healthy. Okay?
Sounds like a plan.
Yep. How about fertilizing a lawn? That's generally I don't recommend fertilizing a lawn in October because I don't want to stimulate any new growth late in the season. That new growth can be succulent and subject to winter injury. So I would say I would not fertilize my lawn this time of year. I would wait now until around Memorial Day next year. Okay, so I'm talking about some things we can still do in October and some things that you really got to be cautious about. I'm not going to say if you fertilize your lawn, it's going to die over winter. I'm not saying that. But we passed the best time, and now there is risk of potential injury to your lawn.
And that would go for gardens. I asked you last week, remember? About adding fertilizer into the garden because you did a soil test. So would you say that as well? Why?
I would say okay, but you're not doing it. You're just doing it because you got a soil test. Oh, I need some potash in the garden, so I'm going to go do it right now. But even though there's nothing growing in the garden, so I would just go what is the advantage of doing it now?
What's the point?
Why are you doing it? And because there is a risk of some of it leaching, especially nitrogen, that can leach out. That was urea you were talking about, a nitrogen fertilizer, and that can leach out. It can volatilize, so you're going to lose some of it over winter. So if I was a farmer and I had 10,000 acres to fertilize, okay, maybe I'll do that in the fall because I won't have time in the spring to do it.
Yeah.
But if I just have a garden, my Lord, how long? It takes 2 minutes to fertilize your garden.
Right.
Okay. So let's just wait until you're gonna grow your garden.
Yeah.
Same with grass seed. Now is not the time to put down grass seed if you got bare spots. We should have done that a month ago, because you put down grass seed now, and the ground is warm, and so the seed may germinate, but it won't get well enough established before winter, especially if we have winter where we don't get a lot of snow and a blanket of protection. So I would say just don't bother sowing your grass seed now. If you want to, you can dormant seed, and that would be we're going to do that in about a month in November when the ground is cold and the seed won't germinate. See, we don't want the seed to germinate now because it won't get established. It'll pop up and then the winter will just punch it in the face. So we don't want that. So let's just hold off. And to me, I preferred I prefer to do it earlier in the fall, August 15th to September 15th. The ground's warm, the seed germinates rapidly, and I got a whole month for that seed to get those seedlings to get established. But now it's too late, so let's just forget about that. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Good. In fact, if you disagree on any of these comments, please let me know if you want to debate anything. Okay. Okay, so that we're done with the lawn. So there's some things to do. We're going to mow our lawn, but we're not going to fertilize our lawn. Okay. How about one thing to our trees? We're going to wrap our trees, and now is the time when we start getting frost. We need to protect our trees from frost injury that's related to sun scalding. So the reason why we wrap our trees in fall is not to get them a little bit warm, like putting on a sweater. No, the reason why we wrap trees in fall is to keep the bark cool. Okay, and that's why we use a light colored, like a white guard here, or light colored craft paper, and we wrap it on the trees, because what happens is, I know you see here, we got a tree on the left that's got the tree guard on the tree on the right is a maple tree. And maples have a very thin bark. And what happens is that this is on the southwest side of the tree. And on a winter day like in March, it got very warm. There's no shade now on that bark. So that bark is fully exposed. And the afternoon sun beats down upon the side that side of the tree, and it can get very warm. And I heard once, read once, it can be 77 degrees warmer on the southwest side compared to the northeast side of the same tree. And so it gets so warm that this activates the cells. They get out of their dormancy. And so the cells get active. But then when the sun goes down and it gets frigid again, those activated cells can adjust to that, and they can freeze up and burst, and that creates these vertical cracks. So fruit trees, maple trees, lindens, very sensitive to this. And so you should wrap your tree at least for the first 5 years. And use a white, not a black, use a white tree guard to reflect off that winter sun. And again, the cracks occur due to freezing temperatures. So when the danger of frost is over in the spring, we take off the tree guard, okay? Take off that white, or take off that paper, that white guard of the paper, because there's no frost worry anymore. Okay, so that's something we can still do in October. Another thing that we can do this time of year, especially because it's been so dry in Bismarck, me and Dan.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Like, I saw in the news they said this last 6 weeks has been like the second driest ever for this time of year. So it's very dry. And so our trees, their roots are still growing. So they would appreciate, if you can, give them a drink of water before the ground freezes. So if you can. So it's not life or death, but they would, they're thirsty. They would like a drink if you can, especially if you've got a young tree that you planted over the last couple years. Okay, here's another thing about that I see a lot in fall is people planting trees. And I just have to say, this is like big trees suffer the most shock. Okay, so like this tree's lost over 95% of its feeding roots. And, I especially get worried about evergreens when I see the tree spades rolling down the street with evergreens. Because, again, those trees have lost so much of their root system. They've lost over 95% of their roots. And the needles they're exposed all winter. So, like, we've passed the best time of planting trees. It was like a couple weeks ago. And especially if it's an evergreen, I would just have to say, like, I think, the tree, they'll tell you that the tree will survive, yes. But what's really the advantage of planting a giant evergreen right before winter compared to waiting till spring?
I don't know. This picture makes me think that you just threw out a lot of money for not a high success rate, probably.
Well, in this case, like when I see this is like somebody who doesn't understand trees.
Right.
Because this tree, like, what do we say? For every inch of trunk diameter, you have a year to a year and a half of shock. So what's that? This is 12 inches. So that means we got about, that's about 18 years of transplant shock. So probably they would have been better just planting a smaller tree here and saving a lot of money. But my key here is that we're past the best time to plant trees. And especially if it's a big tree, and especially if it's an evergreen, I just think it's a little bit risky. And I would just encourage you to reconsider and think about planting early in spring. It'll be much less stressful on the tree. And maybe you can also just say that, hey, you don't have to plant an instant landscape. You don't have to have a 40-foot tree. You don't have to plant a 40-foot tree. So there. Again, I want to talk about things today, things that you can do and things to just be cautious about. So one last thing I want to talk about, and we'll talk about a few minutes here about, is tulips. Tulips is definitely something that we can plant, and I just love tulips and that bright, clear color in springtime.
Yeah, vibrant.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of tulips. There's like botanical types, like this lilac wonder, just like almost like a water lily somewhat. And the emperor tulips, this is a very popular variety. It's one of the first of the big tulips to bloom, and they bloom at the same time as daffodils. And so you can have a really nice combination when you use the emperors. And the Triumph tulips come next in blooming, and they're like the classic tulip. They come in all kinds of color, including purple. This is the Negrita variety, very popular. And I like Darwin hybrids. That's the ones I go for because they're hybrids. It's a big bulb. It's a vigorous plant. And the nice thing about if I get a vigorous plant, I can keep that tulip blooming year after year after year. And so I like the Darwin hybrids. They're the most vigorous, and they have big, big blossoms. So here's one. If you like a jolt of color, like Olympic Flame, really, this is very popular. Darwin hybrid. That's my favorite type because it's the easiest to grow. We sometimes refer them to as perennial tulips just because they're so reliable to come back year after year. One that's not as reliable, but you just got to try it, is a parrot tulip. And they all look like the feathers of a parrot. And they come in all colors. There's yellows, and there's a pink one being shown here. There's dark violet, the black parrot. They're just fun to grow. And I just assume that when I plant a parrot tulip, I'll maybe get 2 years out of that bulb. But it's so cool. Just got to try it. And there's lily types with the pointed petals and peony types. That's this Angelique. Angelique is a very popular tulip, and it looks just like a pink peony. So when you go buy your bulbs, I always look for the biggest bulbs I can find because that's their food is in that bulb. The bigger the bulb, the better. And if you look carefully, it'll say the size of the bulb. And I want a 12+ centimeter bulb. 12 to 14, that's the best. If it's 11, 12, that's okay. But then when it gets smaller, like 10, 11 size, I just go, that's just, I don't know if it's even going to have a flower. Or maybe I'm just going to get one year bloom off that. So keep in mind, the bigger the bulb, the better. And then make sure the bulbs aren't soft. I want them to be firm. And then also designing clumps. So just don't buy like a couple black parrot tulips, for example. Get about at least 6 of them, and then plant them together in a clump for your greatest impact in the landscape. Okay, don't plant them in straight rows. Okay, plant them in clumps.
So if I go plant those, you're on it. You're on it.
As usual, I'm on it here. No, just kidding. But I'm going to plant the tulip in a sunny location, and that's for the long term. I can plant tulips one time in a shady area, but that plant's got to find the sun next spring and regenerate itself. So I want a sunny spot that gets at least 6 hours of sunlight. Tulips got to have a well-drained soil. They will rot in a wet spot. And I plant them about 6 inches apart. I just kind of use my Hawaiian, how's it going? At 6 inches apart, and I plant them about 6 to 8 inches deep. And then I will sprinkle a bulb fertilizer. To me, that's a more complete fertilizer. Works better than just bone meal. And we do is about 4 cups for every 50 square feet of planting area. And then I water it and water deeply. So that way that will trigger the bulb to get the roots going. And that's why we should plant the bulbs as soon as possible so we get the roots established before the ground freezes. And then after the ground freezes, when it comes in November, before Thanksgiving, I'm going to mulch the planting to help stabilize the soil and keep it frozen all winter. Okay. Now, to keep our tulips going for years, what we have to do is we have to take care of them in springtime. So I'm going to give them a little bit of fertilizer again in the spring. And then after they're done blooming, I'm going to clip off those flower stalks. And then I will not trim the leaves until they turn yellow. So just to show you how it is, like here's a mature planting, and you see the petals are starting to fall off, okay? And so we got to think about what's this tulip all about? Why does a flower have beautiful orange, pink petals? Why? Why do they have those petals? How come there's not many green flowers, for example? Because what's the purpose of a petal anyhow?
The petal?
Yeah. You ever talked about it?
I don't know where you're going with this one, no.
Oh, yeah. Stay with me here.
For the pollinators?
You got it.
Okay.
They say, hey.
I was going to say,
bees,
is it obvious?
Here I am. Come here. I got pollen for you. Let's go. Okay, so the petals are there, not not for you and your bouquet or your
That's
vase.
just an added boat effect.
That's an added effect for us. The plant has its own mindset. I want a bee to visit me. So that's why you got these bright petals. And now the petals fall. Okay, the bee did their job. Now what does the plant want to do? The plant wants to make seeds, right? It wants to reproduce. Every organism on Earth wants to reproduce. And so I'm going to tell this tulip, sorry, buddy, I'm not going to let you reproduce because you're going to put all your energy into your seed stalk. I don't want that. I want you to bloom again. So after the petals are all faded out, I'm going to cut that seed stalk all the way to the ground. Okay, sorry, buddy, you're not going to have any seeds this year. You got to try again next year. And then also, I'm not going to touch the leaves. The leaves are the food factory of that tulip. So I want that tulip bulb is empty right now. It gave everything for that bloom and the seed stock. So I'm going to say, sorry, you got to refill that tulip bulb. So the leaves, keep the leaves there, and they're going to refill the tulip bulb for next year's bloom. And when the leaves naturally turn yellow, that's a sign that they've done their job filling up the bulb. So that way we can have a great display next year. Okay, cut off the seed stock, cut it right at the base, and leave the leaves alone. Got it?
Then when they turn yellow, you want to clip those off too?
Yeah, because they're not doing anything, and they're ugly.
Just cut them right back.
Then we're done with that. So, and the bulb's filled. So
yeah.
Now let's say you don't have a garden. Don't worry, you can plant indoors in containers. And so for now there, you don't plant them 6 inches apart. You plant them closer to each other, just a couple inches apart, and you plant them more shallow. Okay, and I just have this shown here just to let you see the spacing. And now I'm going to top this off with some more potting soil mix. Okay, it's got to be potting soil. And I'm going to top it all the way to the very tip of the bulb. So maybe you just barely can't see the bulb. So it's not 6 to 8 inches deep now. It's like right there near the soil surface. And I'm going to mimic a winter. So I'm going to cover them with soil. I'm going to give them a good drink of water. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put them in an unheated garage. Someplace where it's 40 to 50. Like if you had an extra refrigerator, that'd be perfect. That mimics winter great. But my unheated garage does a good job for us. And then what's going to happen after about like 12, 14 weeks, what I noticed is the sprouts themselves, you'll start seeing some of the sprouts come out of the soil. Like they've been winterized and they're ready to come up. And so after you start seeing sprouts, or after about 14 weeks for tulips, I'm going to bring them indoors, and then they're just going to grow and have a beautiful display. Okay, so you can plant tulips in containers. I do that every year, just a few, just for the fun of it, and it doesn't take much work at all.
If you grew them in a container, and then the following year, could you transplant those bulbs outside?
Yes, you can if you want to be disappointed.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is what we call forcing a bulb. I forced this bulb to bloom. It's not happy about it. It wasn't. So it's such a traumatic thing for this poor bulb, and it's in a container. So when I grow a bulb in a container, I get 1 year. That's it. Then I toss away the bulbs because I guess if I really wanted to, or I could try to get it going again, but it'll just rarely work. So get a good quality bulb if you start them indoors. Sometimes some varieties, they say this is a good variety for forcing. That's the term. But then after the bloom's done, just out to the compost pile. There you go. Okay. So lastly, October's a great time. Enjoy, dance in the garden, have a great time, and celebrate. And celebrate now. We got a couple weeks before November. Get out there in the garden, get the job done, and we'll have a great spring. That's
Sounds like a plan. How about my last final question, just because you're focusing on flowers?
Yes.
Say I got a peony plant.
Great.
I divided it.
Plant. Okay.
Yeah. I got it like last week. Put it in the ground.
Wow.
Gave it a good drink of water. Should I have high hopes or low hopes?
Well, generally in life, I keep my expectations low.
Very low.
So, like, the time to transplant a peony is September. So
Okay.
it's mid-October.
I'm behind the 8 ball.
So you're a little bit slow there. But still, it's been a warm time, warmer than usual. So I would say the most important thing for you now is just make sure you mulch it, okay? When the ground freezes, like in mid-November. And then we'll just see what happens.
Yeah. Should I continue to give it water every few days till the ground freezes?
Every few days? No. Okay, give it a good drink.
Like I did.
And then
I
if
gave
the
it a
ground,
good drink.
yeah, then I would just if you really love this plant, so I would scratch the soil, go a few inches, and see if it's moist. If it's moist, don't water it. But if it's bone dry, yeah, give it another drink.
Okay.
Until the ground freezes.
That's what I'm doing. Not
Maybe
out
like
anything,
once, maybe
so
about
I'm we'll just see what happens.
Maybe just once a week at the most, because there's generally not a lot of heat going on, so there's not a lot of evaporation. But yeah, if it's bone dry, sure, give it another drink, and maybe it'll work.
Yeah,
Was it free?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, there you
So
go.
it's kind of a science experiment, right?
Oh, I love it.
Like, well, whatever.
You're a born
Give it a try.
scientist. I like doing that.
Give it a try.
Push it.
That's
See,
right.
then you can tell a story next year about how it worked or how it failed.
I will
Good
report
luck.
back.
You
We'll
planted
report
it
back.
so that the buds are only 1 inch deep.
I planted the plant that I got. They were cut
Oh,
back.
it was a plant. Okay.
Yeah, that was divided.
Okay.
So it had are those tubers with peonies undergrowth? Yeah. Had really big
Yeah.
bulb-looking type.
The roots.
Yeah.
And so when you transplant a peony, the key is you should look at those little pink buds on those roots. I don't know what exactly the botanical structure is, but the
Yeah.
roots, you'll see those pink buds, and they should be only about 1 inch below ground. Sometimes people, it's a tendency to plant peonies too deep.
That might have been me.
Okay, so
I don't know.
maybe it won't bloom next year, but
I'm not out anything, so I'll give it a whirl, see what happens.
well, good luck.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to continue this fall October theme, and I'm going to talk a little bit about fall decor. Do you decorate your porch? Your front yard?
Pumpkins.
Pumpkins.
With pumpkins.
You got
that's
pumpkins
about-
all over,
yeah.
huh?
Well, some years I do, some years I don't. Sometimes you put out a few mums. Some years I don't.
That's what I can appreciate. Again, if we're going to celebrate, even though end of the season, I can appreciate people's decor by their mailboxes, front decks, out in the yard. So just some popular plants and stuff that we see in there. Obviously, straw bales, corn stalks. People even do bundles of wheat. You got your scarecrows, your pumpkins, your mums, your gourds. So this is actually my daycare lady's front deck. It's been fun watching her kind of continue to decorate, and she's really gone way out. But, right now, a lot of times people have these straw bales on their deck, and you can see she's got corn stalks. So they're easily and readily available just because, this is harvest season. The reason people use straw bales, as you can see in there, basically to elevate elements and even to stick signs. And I had the last couple of years, I had a straw bale out at my mailbox and stuff. But I just she's got a lot going on. And then she added in Halloween decorations this month as well. So
Yeah, it looks good.
yeah, I might take us down a little bit of a history lane.
Oh,
You know
really?
the history of scarecrows?
No, yeah, can't say
Where
I
they
do.
originated?
I think what happened is in the old days, the Puritans, they had one person that never behaved. And so they said, you put on a shirt and we're going to hang you up on this trellis out in the garden. You scare the crows away. And that guy was named, they called him Jim Scarecrow. Is that right?
I didn't read that. I did some
Maybe I
research.
made that up.
I did some research, and
Okay.
they say scarecrows actually date back to the Egyptians, and the Egyptians used nets on wooden frames to scare quail away from their wheat fields along the Nile River. So they actually said when they would do this is farmers would hide, and they would basically jump to scare those quail, and then they would catch the quail, and so they would save their crop and have dinner that night.
Oh.
And then however many years later, they say 2500 BC, Greek farmers started like carving wooden scarecrows to scare birds from their vineyards. And then really they developed further when the Japanese sometime later would create scarecrows that were shaped like people dressed in raincoats and straw hats to protect the rice fields. So that's kind of what I found out going down some research on history.
Hear about the
scarecrows.
Puritans, though. You didn't get that.
I did not.
Okay.
Did not see that, and really for today,
there you go.
Today's use, they're probably more so seen in gardens or more so decorations. I have a picture, that one in the field, but
Yep.
a lot of farmers and stuff, I know like up where I live where there's a lot of farmland, like if there's sunflowers, which you get tons of blackbirds in, they got like the cannons going off and stuff. So not really used anymore, but something fun to add to the decor.
Definitely ornamental only.
Yeah.
Any crow could figure that out after a couple days.
It's just...
How come this guy never moves,
I'd like to say it's no different than, like, putting a deer blind up, right? Like, the deer are like, oh, what's that? But then it never moves, and they just continue to come in. So...
I'll take your word on that.
Yeah. Okay, how about legends of where jack-o'-lanterns started? You ever find out about this?
I think there's a guy named Jack in the story.
It is Jack.
Is there?
Yeah.
And
Stingy
here
Jack.
we go.
So this is an Irish legend.
Okay.
And so, again, doing some research, there's some variations of this, but Stingy Jack one day, I guess, invited the devil to have a drink with him. And true to his name, he didn't want to pay for his drink. So he somehow convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin so Jack could use that to buy his drinks. Okay? Once the devil did that...
Now, what happened? Jack turned the devil into a coin?
He convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin.
Oh, Jack became a coin?
The devil did.
Oh, he convinced the devil.
He convinced the devil because he didn't want to pay.
Devil, will you turn into a coin so I can pay for the drinks? And the devil said yes?
The devil said so. Well, Jack decided to keep the money, and he put it in his pocket next to like a silver cross, which is supposed to prevent the devil from changing back into his original form.
Wow.
Sometime down the road, he eventually freed the devil under the condition that he couldn't come back and bother Jack at all for 1 year, and if somehow Jack would die in that year, the devil couldn't take his soul. So the next year, Jack decided to trick the devil again by having him climb into the tree to pick a piece of fruit. While he was up there picking fruit, Stingy Jack decided to carve a cross into the tree's bark so the devil could not come down. Basically until the devil promised Jack that he would not bother him for 10 more years. So they made that deal. Sometime after that, Jack did die, and as the legend goes, apparently God did not find him fit to be in heaven, and the devil wanted to keep up his end of the deal, so he decided to not claim his soul and would not allow Jack down in the southern region either. And so he sent Jack off into the dark night with only a burning coal to light his way, and he put that coal into a carved out turnip, as you see there, and legend has it he's been roaming the earth ever since. So the Irish started out with these carved out turnips, and Scotland kind of took that over as well. And then you can see I put in there that I found out England decided to use beets, and then it was really when it came over to the U.S., this legend, that we started using pumpkins. And so the Irish referred to his ghostly figure as Jack of the Lantern, and then it turned into Jack-o'-lantern.
So Jack's inside that pumpkin.
Jack is just roaming the earth, is what the legend says. But yes, with the light, that's why we put
Devil didn't want him either.
Devil and God said nope.
He had no place to go.
He had no place to go.
No heaven, no hell.
That's right.
So he has to roam the earth Like,
just by the light of a burning coal, which he put inside he carved a turnip
the
for.
devil carved it.
Jack did.
Jack did his own?
Yeah. So, like I said, there are
see.
some
It's his
variations.
lantern as he's walking through the...
Right.
I get it. It's
There's
his
a little
lantern.
bit of variations, but
Oh, that's...
Stingy Jack is where it all started.
That's great legend.
So, yeah. So today I just have to show, in lots of different ways we can decorate and carve our pumpkins. A lot of people paint pumpkins, especially with the younger kids. Might be easier to do that, but I thought I'd talk a little bit about some different pumpkin varieties that are out there as well. So I know you've mentioned this when we look at like jack-o'-lanterns or pumpkins for carving. You recommend like neon, early king, early giants. Those are going to be, what do you say, they usually average 30 pounds, 20 pounds?
Well, yeah, the thing about neon is it's early. But it only gets about 8 pounds.
8 pounds, sorry.
That neon, the key to neon is it's early and has
It's little for kids, perfect size.
And also, the vines don't go nuts. But if you want a bigger pumpkin, like you say, 30 pounds, early king and early giant, they ripen in 90 days, and so they're reliable in North Dakota, and it's a nice 30-pound pumpkin.
There you go.
There you go.
If you want something fun, like these warty ones, recommended varieties would be Knucklehead, Goosebumps, or Grizzly. Anything you want to comment on those ones?
Yeah, we do tests with that, and I don't know, people don't really get that crazy about them. It's Warty Goblin is another one. Warty Goblin, because those warts are dark green on Warty Goblin. That's the one that I would grow, but yeah, it's just different.
It's just different. There's also some colored varieties.
Yep.
So, of course, up in the right-hand corner is the porcelain doll. We've talked about that in the past, which I really enjoy, that pink pumpkin. Jarradell, that's going to give you kind of that greenish blue off color. And then if you're looking at white pumpkins, a couple varieties for North Dakota would be Polar Bear and Casparita, which is a mini. So something kind of fun.
Yep.
Any other colored ones?
Well, there's red, like scarlet, like Cinderella is a popular, it's an old-fashioned heirloom that the vine goes like about 40 feet long, but it's a cooking pumpkin, Cinderella. And the jarred...
What about yellow, right? There's yellow varieties.
Like mellow yellow.
Mellow yellow, okay.
Yeah, nobody, our team of testers think like it's ugly. It just looks like a pumpkin that didn't turn orange.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's just forget about it. That Jarradale and all those blue grayish pumpkins, they're for cooking too. They have it's kind of like a squash actually, and so that would be going not just for display, but you can, after Halloween, you can eat it. So that's in a lot. The white ones like Polar Bear, some of the white ones have a tendency to develop color a little bit. They'll start turning pinkish or bluish.
Oh, wow.
So what you want to do is you want to get them out of the sunlight after you harvest them so that they stay white. And then you have them on display right there for Halloween. So you want a pure white like Polar Bear. Casper that's a very small one, but very productive.
Yeah.
That's good choices there.
The other thing I mentioned earlier is you said mums, chrysanthemums and stuff. So they are perfect for that fall flowering, fall color and stuff. They're fall blooming. You can get a lot of different varieties out there, whether they're double flowers, single daisy, even like the large pom-poms or bun mums. The one thing is if they are bought at a store, most likely those aren't going to bloom again because they're not like the hardy varieties. I always see like Runnings, Walmart,
at a grocery
everywhere
store.
they have them.
If they're at a grocery store, that kind
Yeah.
of that's an ornamental only. That's not
Fall
a hardy.
display only.
That's not a hardy one. So you want to look for ones that like from Minnesota or as a famous mom program. So like if you want moms, go to a garden center to buy them, a garden center. Because they're going to sell you ones that are hardy and may come back the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one you buy at the grocery store is not likely to come back, and it's also generally it will bloom too late because
We'll get frosted, huh?
yeah, it's just not made for North Dakota. It's just made for the Thanksgiving table.
Yeah. Do you ever get mums for the porch?
No, because it's
a waste of money for you. Stingy Tom.
I know. My wife has.
Yeah.
But
again, my Deckert
I would never
ladies
buy
got
it.
them. They
I wouldn't do
they
it.
look very nice.
Yeah,
They're such vibrant colors.
Yeah, I would if I bought one. I'd buy one like a weird one, like one that had like spider petals or something like that. But just, I am stingy. Okay, I accept it.
Me and you both, so it's okay.
I'm being frugal.
It's okay.
It's not a sin.
No.
You know, I don't care what happened to Stingy Jack. You know, there's nothing wrong with being frugal.
That's right.
I think Kevin will accept me.
That's right.
I hope. I'll try better.
Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is gourds then. So gourds, I think gourds are fun. I think they're awesome. I wrote an article on them this past week and stuff, but you know, the big thing that I just got to say is, so last year I had out by our mailbox decorated pumpkins, gourds. Literally after the frost, we took them down, threw them down in the corral, obviously on like where the manure pile has been, left them.
Right.
What a surprise this year to see half the corral is full of
Yeah.
gourds that I'm sure cross-pollinated with lots with each other. So I picked more than a couple wagon full and was able to share them and stuff. But they are fun. I think they add a lot of extra to your decorations and everything like that. So a lot of different variety of colors, whether they're yellow, orange, green, white, striped, spotted. You know, they kind of can get even 2 colors, 3 colors in one.
Yeah.
You have fun shape, round, pear, apple, penguin, and swan. If you do want to grow gourds, I forgot them this year, and Mother Nature gave us ample rain that they were able to survive and stuff. But they're like pumpkins. You can direct seed them after the frost. You know, one thing I would say is once they really do start to vine, you don't have to worry at all about weeding at all. They're going to shade those out.
Yep.
A lot of people I see around the Bismarck neighborhoods do trellis them too, so they're easy picking, get them up off the ground. And if you do grow them, you just want to harvest them when the skin has hardened and the stems start to brown.
Yep, I like the swan type.
I like the swan.
You should try. Have you grown?
I have grown. I mean, this year, but we had everything.
It really looks like a swan.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. I like it.
Yeah. Here's some varieties that I thought would be cool to show, but in the bottom left there, you see the Turk's turban. It's kind of, I don't know, those always kind of look like mutant-looking gourds. So do the gremlins on the bottom right. Yeah. And you have those bottleneck or birdhouse that people let harden off and then just drill a hole in and hang them in a tree. Daisy, I think, is kind of cool just because if you look down on it, it literally looks like you have daisy petals on it. And then there's also the loofah that you can go and actually turn that into a sponge.
Make sure you get an early variety of loofah if that's your goal.
Yeah.
Because that's a late ripening one. I would start that one indoors if I was going to grow a loofah. And as you see, that's for the loofah sponge. It's not for ornamental purposes.
Not
You're
for
gonna use it.
decorating.
Actually, you can eat it too when it's young. Have
you tried it?
Yeah, I've had it. Yeah.
What does it taste like?
It's not sweet, that's for sure. I don't know kind of what the right word is. It's kind of starchy, kind of.
Is it bland?
Kind of like
just extra vegetable.
Kind of like a honeydew that has no flavor, kind of like that kind of thing. Just like a flavorless honeydew. How about that? Something, or maybe like a kind of maybe zucchini-ish, because it really doesn't got much flavor at all. It's a wax gourd. It's another one, just like that. Yep. So it's No, got to harvest it young if you're going to eat it. So, and nobody does that. Nobody in North Dakota grows loofah gourds for eating. That was when I lived in Asia, they did.
Yeah.
But I like the swan. That's the one I would get. That's the coolest one, kids. And then you can even paint it so it looks like a swan. That's that's a nice, fun thing. Lots of good things to do. Yeah, fall's great.
Oktoberfest, right?
I'm with you.
That's right. That's all I have for today.
Oh, that's good.
Keeping the fall theme, the October theme.
Okay, try not to be stingy.
Try not to be stingy. That's right.
I won't be a stingy Jack. That's for sure. I'll try my best.
Any other last words of wisdom
No,
today?
I would just enjoy the, just October's a wonderful month. Enjoy it. Like I say.
Hopefully no snow
Dance.
for Halloween.
Yeah. Just enjoy these beautiful, crisp days. And because winter's coming.
That's right.
Yep.
We just want to thank you, as always, for joining us on today's episode of Dakota Growing and hope that you will tune in for future episodes.
Dakota Growing is a gardening show brought to you by Dakota Media Access and NDSU Extension. We discuss a variety of timely topics pertaining to your landscape, along with giving you tips and advice for your lawn, garden, and trees. If you have questions, call 701-221-6865 or email ndsu.burley.extension@ndsu.com. Dakota Growing airs on Radio Access 102.5 FM, Community Access Channel 12 or 612 HD, or online at freetv.org.